Hello there! I'm DJ the Brickwright. Welcome to my LEGO room, and today I'm pretty excited because I'm going to be showing off a MOC for you today that is more of a design challenge than a ship that was needed in Star Wars, but I hope you guys can stick with me and appreciate it for the work that it is. I will go ahead and mention that May the 4th is coming up, which is going to be really fun. And LEGO has a bunch of promotions that start on Sunday at midnight Eastern Time. So I recommend jumping on lego.com and seeing if there's something there available. They also have double points on a lot of the sets, not all of them, but quite a few. And yeah, I think, the instructions are also for this MOC available on rubricable.com for free. You're welcome, Galaxy. All right, so let me introduce you to the AV-6 Venator-class A-wing multi-role fighter. Now, I know that's a little bit of a mouthful, but I promise I have a reason for it. So this ship was created for two basic reasons. Number one, a reimagining of the A-wing into a multi-role fighter instead of just an interceptor. So interceptors are usually for intercepting other ships, so they're mostly made for ship-to-ship combat, whereas like an X-wing is good for ship-to-ship combat but is also good for launching proton torpedoes and doing capital ship attacks and things like that. So the reimagining of the A-wing came from a series of concept art images that imagined different ships at different scales in the Star Wars universe. This was a combination of miniaturizing the Venator cruiser and upsizing the A-wing to a wider combat role. To transform the interceptor into a multi-role fighter, I increased the size of the primary lasers to be closer to that of an X-wing, and added proton torpedo magazine on the bottom to increase the carrying capacity. And I'll show you that in just a minute when we go over the overall design. The length was increased as well as the width. And I also upsized the engines to indicate that they are more powerful. I added an astromech droid for hyperspace autonomy and shrunk the vertical fins to make it a little bit more streamlined, at least in theory. So if I were to pull some A-wings that I do have in my collection. So this A-wing is the Rebels A-wing, and you can see that it is a bit shorter and not as wide. It's hard to show the width on there. But actually, now I think about it, this one might... Oh yeah, this actually is about the same width because of these super large engines that are sticking out the side. And then I have the Episode 9... Ooh, let me get the landing gear out. A-wing right here, and it is longer than that one and wider as well. But in the end, the big push for me to build the ship wasn't the design, but the technique for the design, the technique to make it work. Over time, I became fascinated with the fact that LEGO has a very poor selection of inverted slopes. Inverted slopes are the things you find on the underside of ships. So you can see here the pieces that go from down to up and outwards. That's called an inverted slope. So to overcome that, I actually built this entire ship around a center plane of bricks with way more options for regular slopes. If you can build with studs going up and down, you can do way more things with it. So if I flip it upside down here for you, you can see that I actually used very similar pieces on the bottom and the top. And that's because it's built around what I called that center plane, right in the middle. The trickiest part is actually where the pilot sits. Mainly because you're building upside down, there isn't really a natural part for the figure to sit on. But if you download the instructions, you can see I used the LEGO Friends little interlocking leg piece as the seat for the pilot. Unfortunately, there isn't enough room for minifigures with a larger head than just a regular humanoid with a helmet. But I'm just glad it could actually fit any actual pilot in the ship itself. So once again, I will remind everybody that the instructions for this ship are on rubricable.com, so you'll be able to get a lot of the indicators and a lot of the information on the build over there. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of the design choices that I made. So if I pop this off here, you can see a little bit of the snotting that is present in the center section of the ship. So the whole middle is one layer of brick all the way from the front to the back. And that's actually what the engines are tied into. If I pull that off, you can see it's got a Technic piece right there. On the instructions, I did put down to use the new, there, if I can put that, to use the brick that has the cross axle, not the pin, but I didn't have enough of those, but they are 2-layer deep, so I have the cross axle one deep inside, and then just the regular Technic one there. But you'll want to use 2 of the Technic axle ones if you have those available. Then on the front, we just rounded it off with some lights and stuff. It actually worked out really well. I'm really happy with the way this ship turned out. Then on the underside here, I'll show you, I've got, this is our proton torpedo cartridge system of sorts. So this would be the proton torpedo base right at the front of the ship, able to launch out really well. Again, the shape is very reminiscent of a Venator Republic cruiser from the prequel era. And that was a little bit on accident, but also somewhat purposeful. Man, I keep knocking the laser cannon off. Just because I just really loved this shape, especially with using these 4x4 wedge pieces right there. So in the end, you'll actually need 8 of those things. When I priced it out on rebrickable.com, it came to like $60 to build this ship. And obviously you can change out the colors. Like if you just wanted to change out the dark red for a different color that's more accessible to you, you're welcome to do that. You can use white, you can use gray, you can add other accents. I tried to keep it as easy as possible to modify for different colors and accents. So the instructions are pretty clear on that regard. And if you just want to keep the center section in the gray and then the black parts black, you'll end up in a pretty happy situation, honestly. Another one of the innovations that I came up with, besides building it along that center plane, is the engines themselves. The way that they lock in is really helpful and allows you to build this cool little receiver slopes around the outside. But then on the back, I wanted to keep some of that classic A-wing look. So if I pull up the episode 9 one here, you can see that it's got the engine section, but then it's got a little fin on the back end, or a little extra directional vane. I wanted to include that in this build. So I used a fun little technique here to have it both be on the inside and the outside of that little extra directional vane. So it's pretty fun. I enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoy it as well. Well, again, not again. So I apologize if this video is pretty short. I have a couple things that I'm fighting right now. I am dealing with a severe toothache that completely takes me out of commission for hours at a time. The pain is so severe, and so I've been fighting that this whole time as well. For those of you who are interested in the AT-AT, the puzzle build AT-AT, the Kickstarter completely failed, which is good to know. I now have gained a lot of experience from Kickstarter moving forward that way. But I am going to still be doing the puzzle build of the AT-AT. I was able to save up enough money, and with some help from my wife, we're able to go ahead and keep the AT-AT, which means I'm going to be puzzle building it, and that will begin next week. I have some personal goals that I will have to be working on at that time, which provides a perfect opportunity to build something that doesn't need my creativity. Again, the instructions are on rebrickable.com. You're welcome to check those out, and we will catch you next time. And until then, play well. Bye.